Good morning, everyone. Heather Valentine here. I am a structural integration practitioner here in South Lake Tahoe, the owner of Tahoe Body Works, and a member of the team over at Elevate Wellness Center. And I wanted to take a moment to share a couple of quick tips for a breathing awareness technique that I have been finding helpful recently and think may be useful for some of you out there as well. So, the key to this technique is that it's not about forcing or really trying to get breath into certain parts of your body. It's more about bringing awareness to what may be available and trying to work with that, allowing the breath to expand. It's really about taking up space and expanding within our own bodies. So we are clearly navigating some interesting times here of late. And those times are coming with currently some restrictions that we're maybe not used to dealing with on a daily basis. And it's forcing us to recalculate how we move through our day. And sometimes that can flow nicely, and some days it doesn't flow very nicely. And that can add additional stresses in our bodies. And those stresses can sometimes start to be restrictive in just how our body can move. And a place where often that will show up first is in how we breathe. So we'll stop breathing as big and as bold as we're used to breathing, just experiencing those external stressors and restrictions from the outside world. So this is a nice thing to do in the evenings. It's certainly usable throughout the day as well, but it's a nice reset at the end of the day to let go of all the things we've been worried about throughout the day, reset ourselves, and give us some time to really get back into our bodies and really take up some space, really expand within our own bodies. So typically I like to do it lying on my back. Often I'll just do it in bed, and it quite often leads pretty quickly to a really nice night's sleep. But the three dimensions that we want to be aware of are first length. So, even though our lungs take up this upper space in our chest, the ability of our tissues to move within our bodies expands much further beyond just here. So the length element really goes from the base of the neck, the clavicles, all the way down to the base of the pelvic floor. So technically, you can feel some sort of movement in this whole zone as you're breathing when your body's freed up and not feeling restrictions. So that may not be immediately available to all of us, but it's something to consider, something to think about. The next element is width, so movement of our rib cage of our body out to the sides. And then the last being that of depth, so movement front to back. Expansion into the back, expansion into the front of the body. So just finding yourself lying, the floor looks nice too because it provides a little bit more tactile response because it's harder than a bed typically. So just lying on your back. I like to keep my knees bent. You can certainly do this with your legs straight out as well. And letting the shoulders roll open so the palms face up. This is nice, especially for those of you that find yourselves on a computer a lot during the day and end up in this position for a lot of the time. So to counter this closing up of the chest, just allowing it to open gives you more space to expand into while you breathe. And first, just taking a couple minutes to just breathe and notice where you feel your breath. So where does it go naturally without you forcing it? Without you really thinking too deeply about what it's doing, but just dropping into your body and feeling what the breath does naturally. So taking a couple breaths there, and then I'm not going to move through the whole thing with you since I'm providing you with quick tips. But after that initial assessment of where your breath is naturally, you want to start to just take maybe 5 to 10 breaths to explore expanding more into those different dimensions. So the length dimension. thinking about if you feel your breath in your chest. Do you feel it in your lower ribs? Do you feel it in your belly? Do you feel it in your pelvis? Are you able to get any sort, even if it's a micro amount of movement, any sort of movement into those zones? And again, not forcing it, but really utilizing more awareness and intention and allowing the breath to expand. So it's as if you're blowing up a balloon. This whole section of your body is a balloon that you want to fill space in. And then moving to the width piece. So a nice trick for this is to put the palms of your hands on your rib cage, wrap your fingers around the front so that your middle fingers touch. And then as you breathe, you can think about expanding into the palms of your hands, which brings your ribs a little bit more out to the sides. And in doing that, your fingertips will come apart and then move back together. And at first, it may just be a little bit, which is okay. And then as you gain more adaptability in this portion of your body and being able to get into that space, it may come further apart. So just as you inhale and exhale. So just a tactile way to help you get some additional movement there. And the third piece, the depth. Sometimes just placing a hand on your chest, you already have tactile in the back as you're on a mattress or the floor. And so just feeling if you have any sort of movement front to back. And usually the front's the easy part and the back's a little bit more difficult. And again, just thinking about taking awareness to that place and seeing if you can start to feel some movement there. So hopefully that gives you a couple of tips on a technique that may allow you to expand, take up more space in your own body, decompress from the day, set yourself up well for a good night's sleep, and get you ready to face the next day. So keep moving, stay healthy, and hopefully we'll see you soon.